It's only a no if you let it. Don't just be a number. Put a face to it. No one has the authoritative answer to tell you can't do something. If your fire is burning bright enough, you will outshine and you will be undeniable. And eventually it'll be like, wow, we want to work with you. What am I going to do with height if you don't show up? What am I going to do with it? If you're reliable and you're hardworking, that adds inches.
And you never know where life.
Yeah, and you never know where life will. You got to be open. And what you were saying, right? Just being open to opportunities and learning new things and putting yourself into kind of maybe challenging or interesting situations, because who knows, maybe that's your big break. How am I adding value if the first thing I do is take away? I think the word expect is the issue.
Sublime Podcast.
Hey guys, very special episode of Sublime Podcast, and it's number 25. I go by season, so it's still season 2, but it's a milestone, and I've read somewhere that 99% of podcasters give up before they reach 20. So I'm 1% at this point.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so, and lots of other changes, but I also wanted to kind of make sure that the milestone gets very special guests today as well. So today is, as usual, it's all about guests, and we are having the owner and the CEO of a modeling agency, Park Talent modeling agency in Sacramento, Dennis, and I have 3 wonderful co-hosts who I just met, some of them, and therefore I will let you guys introduce yourself. I know something about you, but I think you definitely will be able to tell better about who you are. But before we go to you, Dennis, can you just give like 2 sentences?
My name is Dennis Park. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Park Talent Models. So we are based in Sacramento, but we have aspirations to expand elsewhere.
Very cool. Stacy, you want to go?
I'm the model, like very active in Bay Area. I've been doing that 1.5 years now, but I started this pageant and I really enjoyed how to, modeling in this industry. Quite fun.
I'm Ksenia, and I'm a Miss Russia 2011 beauty pageant finalist. And I also used to work many years like in industry and being a model.
I'm Caitlin, and I've been modeling in the Bay for about a year. So kind of new, but I'm liking it.
Mm-hmm. As you know, as I mentioned, I have a question which is more about history of clothing making, which has a lot to do with modeling. And whoever gets the closest to the actual answer will have to talk for the next 5 minutes. So there are 5 of us. I know the answer, so I'm out of the competition. Here's a question. How long ago humans started to wear clothing on a regular basis?
7 years ago.
Okay. More ideas?
I think somewhere when it was like Asian tribes, when the people started doing like a tiger coats and stuff.
Can you put a number in years?
I would say it's something like close to maybe 200 AD BC, like something like that.
Okay, 200 BC, before Christ.
No, after AD.
I don't know, my guess is like all the way maybe at least 30,000 years ago.
All right.
I don't know, I'm not going history.
Yeah. I'm going to go with about 100,000, since that's about the modern human remains that have been found.
Yes. Okay, so the right answer is that we don't know.
That's
but
the
we
best
have
answer.
but we have 2 data points because, well, obviously Instagram didn't exist all the time, so we don't really know when people started to upload photos with clothing. But we have two data points. So one of them is 170,000 years ago. This is the point in time where, and let me know if it's too gross, where head lice split from the clothing lice, which means that clothing lice got enough environment to become its own species and feed off of whatever clothing was covering. You see? So that's one data point. But there's also another data point, which is 300,000 years ago, where they've done the analysis on the bones of bears that lived in the same environment with than humans. And 300,000 years ago, it looked like people were removing skin from the bears to use for, maybe using for clothing, or maybe covering the like caves and whatever. You can use something furry. So basically, at some point between 300,000 years ago and 170,000 years ago, humans started to wear clothing, and Dennis was closest.
The closest,
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So in this case, let's use this opportunity. Tell the story about like how did you end up in Sacramento, and like a bit like from your childhood, that you came from somewhere else.
That far back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm an immigrant, first generation. My family immigrated to California when I was 13 years old. Kind of stuck around California and Sacramento area. I really liked it. I tried a different state just to try it, but it was Idaho for reasons. But been in California like majority of the time I've been here in America. Basically, as far as the modeling industry goes, I sold a business. I was very fortunate, and then I kind of followed some dating advice and tried to get my Instagram in order. So I hired some photographers to take professional photos of me.
Okay.
So through hiring photographers in Sacramento and just kind of being of business mind, I realized that there wasn't an agency in Sacramento. So in business, it's better to go where there is no competition than to have to compete. So kind of knowing that, I decided, okay, well, I also, my business partner, Noelle, she, basically a person I knew was very good at marketing, had extensive experience in marketing, worked for big marketing companies, and not only that, was a wizard at social media. So I figured, okay, well, my business background and her skills, maybe we can put something together. So I still remember the dinner that we had where I kind of like told her the idea, like, hey, let's do this, right? We trust each other. That's a big thing in business. And then also I feel like this will be interesting. So here we are. It's our 4th year of operation, and things are going great. I mean, they're in one aspect much further along than I thought they would be. And in other areas, of course, there's been challenges and tribulations, but that's the exciting part. So that's kind of my journey to arriving to here and being, co-founder and CEO.
Very cool. What a story, right? I do have questions, but I know you guys are quite creative in asking your things. And I want it to be a more collaborative kind of podcast. Basically, all us against Dennis. So if you have any other questions, feel free to jump in. If you don't, though, I have more of them.
What was one tribulation?
One tribulation. Many, but I think industry as a whole. Because we're an agency, and the way because we can run it anyway, right? Like there's no one telling us how we need to do it. Not only that, but it's not like I had previous experiences, so I didn't bring these biases. I almost started with kind of like a blank slate, where I didn't think that someone could tell me how to run a particular industry, but I was curious to see how it was ran. So it wasn't necessarily like bringing, like I said, these biases in, just kind of an open book. It's because as an agency, you only make money when a model books a paying gig, right? I didn't realize how far and few in between those really are. You mentioned something earlier before we were recording, how it's almost like a hobby. So a lot of times it feels like you're trying to squeeze blood out of a stone, because you are trying to say to the world, well, beauty is worth something. Not only that, but these models invested their whole livelihoods into being their own business in the industry.
Their own brand, for sure.
Their own brand. And that effort should be rewarded.
Yes.
Right? So someone at some point in the business transaction has to put their foot down and say, this is worth something. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do.
How does that work, telling just brands like you have to pay, or?
Well, in a way, it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but
Probably.
Yeah, it kind of is like that. It's just finding like-minded partners. It's finding people that you don't have to explain that marketing takes money. You don't have to explain that production takes money, and you also don't have to explain that modeling is an industry that is successful because there is money in it. So it's instead of spending all your time convincing people that are kind of on the fence, just finding those that are already there. So that's been kind of the focus.
And what was like the most challenging for you as a business owner in this business?
I think not necessarily as a business owner, as a person. Because so many different personalities, and each one is their own individual business, right? Growing to understand the needs and how to best align with them, because life is all about incentives. If your incentives are aligned, you don't have to worry about trusting someone. You don't have to worry about watching over your back. They want the same thing you want. So in business and in life is finding like-minded people that where the incentives align, and then you kind of try to move forward together. So that,
So
but,
a human factor.
yeah, human factor, exactly. But then replicated over multiple people. While before, let's say that lesson was learned with just a few business partners or maybe some friends. Now I have our entire roster that I'm trying to do that with. So it's kind of like dealing with so many different personalities and figuring out how I can best relate to them, or how how to bridge that gap where they trust me. Because once again, there's so much in this industry where people are taken advantage of, either financially by not paying, or booking a gig and then just like, we're not going to pay you right after all the photos are collected, that kind of stuff. So so growing as a human.
Okay, I kind of want to step back a bit and make sure that people understand what's the value of modeling agency. Like, the industry changed a lot.
Yes.
And like before, being a model, it was just, such an achievement, because firstly, you have to look in a specific way. And secondly, because it was all about who you know and securing the gigs. Let's say either like editorial for the fashion weeks, or commercial work through like magazines or like advertisement and so on, right? But now with social media, pretty much anybody is a model. You see, they they know a photographer, or they learn how to take photography, and they go ahead and start posting photos, which are a bit maybe like on the creative side, and then they mark themselves as a model. You see, so now when you are coming in as a modeling agency, I guess it's clear if you're trying to make money and you need help in securing paid gigs. So this is where you would go to a modeling agency, right? But on your side, like, how do you say discover models, and how do you make sure that they are interested, incentivized, as you mentioned, to work with you instead of doing things in the old way through like DMs and social media?
Social media democratized a lot of businesses. It removed the barriers to entry, but it also made it, because when you lower the barriers to entry, that means anyone can enter, right? Anyone can compete.
Yes.
So there is such a concept in the music industry called rising above the noise, right? Because there's so many people competing on amateur level. What does it take to break past that? Now on Instagram, it's pleasing the algorithm in a way, and nobody knows what that thing wants, but we're all trying to please it in one way or another. So it likes us and it ranks us, that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a changing landscape, but I do like it more now, because those that can will, and before it was much more controlled. I think before, now, once again, this is anecdotal. I can't say for sure because I wasn't around, but from speaking with other people in the industry, someone had to decide to give you a chance. Yes. That was the way you would get it. You had to meet somebody, impress somebody. There was gatekeepers. And I don't like that on a personal level, because I'm a very individually minded person, to where I feel in personal freedom in the fact that if you wish to pursue something, as long as you're pursuing that goal without hurting anybody else, you should be free to do so, right? So, but with that many people, you're competing, and you're kind of figuring out how to market yourself. Not only that, but how to stand out. But the thing is, that decision and that kind of creative side is on you. No longer, no matter what you try and how well you do, if someone says no, that's it, right? Like, I don't like that pack. So I think social media definitely kind of made it a little bit easier. Now, obviously, you guys have already had your own various success and tribulations as well. So I'm sure you've encountered that as well, and especially you said that it was 2011.
Yeah, it's been
Right.
many years ago.
And I know, I'm sure on the Russian side, you probably encountered some of the gatekeepers as well in your career.
Yes, I definitely did work with different model agencies in Russia and also abroad, like Italy and France. So I have a question for you. Like, as a model agency, like, have you ever discovered models in Instagram?
That is predominantly how we discover.
Oh, that's okay.
Because on Instagram, it's very easy to see who puts in the work, right? If, let's say I follow you, and then every other day I get a new photo shoot notification or a new something, like you are giving it your best. It's very easy to see the effort. It's almost undeniable. You can't see. Sometimes you want to mute it, right? Because it's so like it's coming out of this person. So those are people that you want to align yourself with because they're already incentivized to achieve. And how I was referring to earlier, the analogy I like to use is that they already have the fire burning. And our job is just to throw gasoline on it. But we can't create that fire for you. It has to be burning already inside. And not only that, but about those people is that you can't snuff it out. You'll burn your hands. Like it's so vibrant and so bright that all you can do is either help it or get out of the way. So those are the type of people I'm trying to find. But that's also where we live. Like Instagram is where our business exists. So it's kind of like we're in the same club. We're in the same place. We're already hanging out, right? It's just we have to meet. But once again, we're already aligned. We're both you're trying to succeed on Instagram because it's a very visual medium.
Yeah.
So we might as well do the same, right? So.
Yeah, for sure. It's just, but you are kind of the other side of this. You are more like, hey, like I see you've been posting photo shoots like on a regular basis. How about I let you make a bit more money by giving you a job?
It's not. I don't think we're on the other side. The other side is the client. We're on the model side. We are in their corner. We are either they are knocking down that door or we are helping them knock down that door, either because we have prior connections or because we are just an easier place, right? Because we already have models on our roster that have been pre-selected, that already have the body of work, that already have the effort. So it's much easier to work with us with an idea, and then we can find what fits for you instead of you searching for that individually. So we're an effort and a time saver is the way I look at it. But we're not exclusive. We only make money when you make money. So it's not us versus them. We're on the same side. We're just trying to find the clients that agree that your effort is worth money.
Okay. So it sounds like your business model is more like when the client is paying, you are just getting some like revenue share.
Yeah.
With the model.
Because we handle the logistics, right? The booking, the a lot of the legal stuff that protects the models as well, the contracts, so the model doesn't have to necessarily worry about that stuff. They know that if the gig is coming from us, they'll get paid. Then they can choose whether or not to take the gig, and they know what the compensation will be. Now that we offer a little bit of protection, we don't have to, but we do in the sense of like if let's say the client stiffs us, we still pay the model. So we'll absorb that hit because you've trusted us, you did your part. And we brought you the opportunity. So if someone's getting screwed, it'll be us. That's fine.
I love it.
Do you guys work with international clients? Like, do you send models like abroad?
We're still young, but we are starting to have those opportunities. I also believe in figuring it out how to do the things right on kind of like a smaller, more controlled scale. So Sacramento is almost perfect for that. And then you start expanding, and then what you found works, the culture, right, of the business, kind of the trust within the models. Then you have your team, and then you can take it to other places because the models are trusted and we are trusted by the models. So now that we've created this bond together, now we can go and compete in other markets because each market is kind of its own little club. So,
So it's also kind of safe for the models to be like with a model agency in case if you travel abroad for the...
We have a team. There's someone else looking out for you, right? You're not just on your own. I feel like a lot of this business could feel kind of lonely. You feel like it's you versus the world. So we offer, hey, there's someone in your corner looking out for you.
Yeah, good topic. And I also have a relevant question to this. So clearly there are scouts who discovering the models. There are models, obviously. There are photographers who you work with to create digitals, right? who are the other people in this whole ecosystem to make sure that this whole mechanism, properly functions. As you mentioned, there is some legal protection, so maybe you're consulting with the lawyer every time. There is
legal team. The contracts, once they're drawn up, it's pretty easy to just kind of send to sign. So that a lot of that infrastructure happens in the beginning. I think what you're alluding more to is maybe like ongoing stuff. Yeah. So photographers are definitely a good member of the team, because photographers are they can make you look really, really good, or they can if let's say your vision as a model doesn't work for their style, then you can see that clash. But when it syncs up, when the model's vision for what her brand is works with the photographer, especially if the model can vocalize it clearly. This is what I'm going for. This is my brand. This is what I like to do. Photographers love that. The worst they hate is, I don't know, what do you think? Right? Because they're not thinking. They're more on the execution side. Their job is the lighting, the studio, the background, the framing, all that kind of stuff. Especially if, let's say, the shoot is for your own portfolio. Because a lot of what it takes to kind of get started on Instagram and compete is to put in the work of contacting photographers, doing photo shoots, and you are the creative director on those photo shoots. So you kind of have to have an idea almost from day one. It's okay if you don't. You can kind of figure it out along the way. But what exactly is your brand? What is the vision? Are you going more for high-end editorial? Are you going more for lingerie and swim shoots? Are you going for high fashion? Are you going to abstract creative stuff? There is no right answer, but you have to have that answer at some point, because that helps along the way. That means when, let's say, we say, hey, these are the few photographers that we really like. What do you think? Right away, you'll know this guy works, this guy doesn't. Right?
So I have a question for you. When you mentioned earlier is that, your company's still young, what do you mean young? How long?
Fourth year of operation.
4 years?
Yeah. The majority of the businesses, let's say in San Francisco, have been around for 30 years.
Jeez.
So young.
Yeah, but 30 years it was before social media. And I guess it's very difficult it's kind of easier to start at the environment where you have all the instrumentation, all the tools to scout the models and to discover, compared to say when you're 30 years old and you still believe in older ways of doing things.
Yeah, I don't believe there's a such thing as easier in business. Different scales have different problems, right? Yes, we're small, so we're very nimble, especially as the landscape is changing with social media and then AI, which we can touch on later. Yeah. We're able to pivot really fast. While these big companies, they're flagships, right? While they have those established relationships with the production companies and the marketing companies and all that kind of stuff, they can't pivot as fast because they do have a bunch of employees. They do have, offices that they need to pay for. So when something is coming in to disrupt them, they're going to take a bigger hit. They're going to be the ones that have to downsize and let people go. So there is no free cake.
One more thing. So the live stream is finally up. So we are live now.
Sweet.
Yay. Yeah. So yay. Yeah.
Kind of want to jump to the very beginning because I found it interesting. Your question about clothing, right?
Yes.
When we started wearing clothing. Kind of want to ask you guys, do you think at some point it was due to modesty and shame, or do you think it was because we started losing hair and it became?
It's probably a combination of a couple different things.
Okay.
Because it'd be weird to think of us in a more primal state and all of a sudden we're wait a minute, I don't want to see you guys like this. We need to cover this up.
Right.
Imagine, hey, I just realized we're all nude.
Right.
Interesting. I don't think it was visual and aesthetical. I think it was just more comfort thing. I'm cold. I need to
protective.
Yeah, something
that makes sense.
Cover.
You are all right, but there are so many reasons to have clothing. So.
Well, to me, I feel it's at the beginning, a long time ago, back in the day, people cover because for survival, right? You know, it's too really cold,
protection
whatever the
from
protections.
Cold and
but
animals.
and over time to the modern, centuries, people trying to level up from surviving to lifestyle, the quality. So I think that's a term, for me personally, it's more a lifestyle, the quality for living is not about surviving anymore.
It's definitely a couple of different factors, but it's also such a symbol of status. If we were in a tribe, if we wanted to know who the tribe leader was, they would have to have a certain garb and you'd be oh,
it's
that makes
symbols
sense.
for your status, right?
Yeah.
So first survival, then like function,
Functions,
and then
Comfort.
fashion.
fashion.
Fashion, yes, but I think fashion came
After.
kind of together, because even if you look at like what animals do, and I think I'm glad that you're bringing the question of status. Humans are intrinsically status, based animals, right? It's all about status and access to resources. Even though like modern society doesn't really emphasize this as much as it used to be, but even if you look at animals, the alpha, like the highest status animal, which is actually a really hard job to do, but they always have something which differentiates them from like lower status, especially in males. Like females are a bit less kind of like hierarchical, but still there are arrangements where
I'm not sure if this is a fact, but I heard it somewhere that a male gorilla that ascends to a status of alpha gains like 100 pounds.
Wow.
size is the easiest for
Yeah.
sure.
But like your body goes through a transformation
Yes.
and you increase in testosterone to accept
Yes.
that role.
Yes, and interestingly, testosterone is connected in both ways with the status. If you are low status, your body produces testosterone, interestingly, less compared to when you are high status. So there's a book called The Winner Effect, and it covers all those like status kind of like status, testosterone, and winning politics, all the behavioral things about like say why CEOs are flying jets while they can just drive in something. So it talks about an interesting species of fish, and they have kind of like three genders there. There are females, of course, and they are just all kind of equal. There are no testosterone males, and they are gray, and there are like testosterone males who are much larger, and they are colorful, and they are like intimidating, and they do what typically like high testosterone males usually do in the nature. What's interesting is that if the high testosterone male dies, then the area frees up, and those gray kind of like
Level up.
males,
Changing the color?
they change the color like that. So
Nice.
their testosterone production, kicks in, and they become so basically raising to the power, right? And we see the similar effect in humans where if you are artificially put in the position of power, such as say in a corporation, you were like just an individual contributor, and you're becoming the manager. You kind of have to raise up to the challenge of not just protecting your team, but also exuding control over the team, because you're giving them the things to do.
It's almost like a social expectation, right?
It is. And in those managers, testosterone goes up, interestingly. You see, so they've done the testing before and after.
Well, I imagine testosterone is also linked to being disagreeable, which is what you need to be in order to be in power, right? In order to be able to tell some people no, in order to be able to lead people, right? It's I feel like it's a hormone that's necessary for being able to make decisions under stress. So I guess it makes sense. But then I wonder, right? There are places where females are lead. Do you think they produce more testosterone?
They wake up with way more testosterone, and
Just
they're
wake
just
up one
like
day,
a
it's
whole
like,
new
oh
woman.
man, I'm just. Whoa.
It's a bit less pronounced. I guess there is similar effect, but it's a bit less pronounced, and that's the reason why we have fewer women in politics compared to men.
Probably.
Yeah, it's a very good topic.
I think just women tired way faster and easier than
We
men.
are. There's like a study, more estrogen. I think it makes you more tired. Like we're not meant to work. Like they're trying to tell us. we're not meant to do this. Just kidding, kind of.
What happened to times when being a woman meant you just go out for brunch?
Literally, just kidding.
With your,
Am I?
and like you take money from your husband. Right?
Yeah,
you
in my
don't need to do
dream.
much.
It's like that
This was
email.
80 years ago.
Why didn't you come into work? Low estrogen today. I just wasn't really feeling it.
Love it. Wonderful topic. Cool. Anything else you kind of want to reiterate, or should we just?
No,
move on?
I for some reason I thought it would be an interesting question because I don't know myself. I like because we still find tribes currently today that the top half is exposed for the entire tribe regardless of sex, and then the bottom is covered, right? So it's kind of like also when did we start?
Offset.
Like female nipples not okay, male nipples still good. Like when did we make that distinction?
There was that experiment where they were in Photoshop they were just taking female nipples
Yeah.
out.
I
and
see it on Instagram all the time. It's
putting
just-
male
it's
nipples
a
instead
silly
of
thing.
them.
But have
Yeah.
you guys see the?
There's no difference.
Have you guys see the Kim Kardashian, her brands with the bras with nipple on it? That's the features. She wanted. She's saying say something on commercial. I don't know if you ever see it. Like she was like, we have to rise. Like women's empowerment, like rising. Like so, I'm gonna show your nipple.
Oh, was that the Free the Nipple campaign?
The bra. She's
I support it.
selling.
I bought one.
Then what's the point? You wear the bra with the nipple when you just have your natural breasts out there.
Well,
You know what I mean?
Because it's like attract, I guess, more sexuality.
But you already have the real one. Why you want to put the fake one on?
Well, maybe their real one looks a little different.
No, the real one covered by
It's like cosplay.
bra, you know? It's the
Right.
nipple on the
Get to
bra,
be somebody
so-
new.
It's just really funny. Like, okay, so now you're gonna buy a bra. Because like the purpose for us to wear the bra is not showing the nipple shape, right? But now she's launched this whole product line that all the bras will nipple, like the plus nipple on it. So whatever you wear, you will see that too. Then what's the point? I bought the bra when I just can wear nothing on it with the bra, like my nipple showing. It's just for me. It's just like
No,
What
the
was
function
the
of
sense for
point
me.
there? There's function, I guess, to this, right?
There
as
is no
well.
function. Just
What's
for
the function?
showing.
Function of bra is like to support the breast.
Shape
No,
support,
there
yeah.
the whole marketing is just to show
I
the
know what
nipple.
you understand,
Like
yeah.
you
I
see
think
that.
it might be like for a lift, and then it looks like you have the lift without a bra, and that's where the intrigue comes in.
Ah, we solved it.
Yeah, that would be smart.
Yeah.
I don't own one for the record. I'm just saying, I would imagine.
I don't know. It's called Slim, so
that
you
makes
guys
sense
can
to me.
try. Like
You get all the benefits of a bra, but you still get to be, risque.
Exactly.
That's how we go from the animal world to the bras, right?
Yes.
That's how
and back
it's
to
just-
original.
There were Okay, let me ask another question, and again, it's kind of in the similar ballpark. So, how long ago humans started to look like they look now?
Meaning what?
Now it doesn't look like a monkey.
Are we talking about anatomically or like because like skeletal remains have been the same for like 300,000 years, they assume, right? So bones wise,
Yes.
we've looked the same for about 300,000 years, but there's other characteristics of our looks that are hard to tell because it degrades. We can't. So I don't know. It would be a hard question to answer because only the bones remain.
Yeah, but like with modern science, you can kind of figure out by the combination of how
So like
the bodies are
a
aligned.
reconstruction where they reconstruct what the face would have looked like. Is that what you're talking about?
So about 500,000 ago, Neanderthals kind of branched out of sapiens. And those were the tribes that went to live in Northern Europe. And that's why they grew out hair. And that's why I say I have a more lighter skin because I have 2% Neanderthal in me.
Right.
You see, some of my relatives are coming from like this northern Europe area, while the sapiens was primarily developing in Africa. You see, and there was multiple ways of migration out of, and I'm just basically reciting the Sapiens book. That book bridges all the discoveries over the past maybe million years, and how modern humans happened. Long story short, sapiens were coming out in waves out of Africa, and other species of humans didn't really die out; they just interbred.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and because the species were kind of far away, for example, sex between a male of one species and female of the other species wouldn't give a child, but the other way around it would have worked. For example, you see. So this is why the genetical difference between the two branches. So basically, the science says that in the past maybe 250,000 years, humans didn't really evolve much. What happened though is we developed society and we developed the ability to pass knowledge forward. 50,000 years ago, there were first paintings on in the caves, which was an attempt to actually pass knowledge forward and so on. So humans actually are quite ancient species as it is, even though evolution is still happening. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because speaking of nipples, right?
Love that segue.
He
In-
loved it.
I'm not even
He loved
surprised.
yeah,
Okay, let's just talk about for the rest
In-
of the night.
in animals, you take some of the species of monkeys, right? In animals, it's very easy to see when is the best time for mating, right? Because animals are like displaying that out there. Now, what happened to humans is humans started to walk straight, right? Which kind of hides a lot of natural ways of displaying the readiness, right? So that's why humans had to develop other ways of showing that they are healthy and they can bear a healthy child, especially for women, right? That's why we have like red lipstick.
The nipple bra.
Nipple bra, and another one, yes. So basically, humans had to develop large breasts to show that they are, even if they are like, enhanced those days, right? It still is done primarily to show that they can have healthy children after.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, from that lens, it's hard to not see a girl twerking in a club and not think that's a mating signal.
Oh, it is.
It is. 100%.
They're like, I'm ready.
Yeah, exactly. It screams like, Neanderthal, like, I am in heat, come get it.
Yeah, at the same time, mating signal doesn't necessarily mean that she wants mating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because-
well, we're talking about signals, right? Like,
Yes.
obviously, humans have a lot more nuances. Usually in animal kingdom, it's more like both are just driven. It's spring, it's time. It's. I think it's less of an option. It's just more they're compelled because it's very much like an act. They do it and then they get away from each other usually.
Yeah.
While in humans, we obviously stick around, right? So it's a little different.
And it's much more mixed signals with the humans as well, right?
Yeah, we're more complicated. We're very simple in some ways, but we
That's
send
how
mixed
we're
signals
human,
all the time.
right? We're not animal.
I think desires are simple, but the outcomes are complex. You see, and like what we see in modern society is that showing signals of mating is a way to attract attention, and it's a way to secure resources, but not necessarily offer sex in return. You see.
Yeah. It goes both ways, right? So a girl twerking is like a female signal, but then a guy throwing $100 bills at the girl twerking is like, I have resources, right? So it's like, we've come so far, yet we're still so simple in our displays.
Yeah, and I think what you just mentioned is a summary of the fact that women are, unfortunately, in most cases, are perceived as the beauty objects. Well, for men, men are success objects. So when a girl twerks in the club, she's displaying her resources, which is her beauty. When the guy,
And her dancing skills.
yes,
Yeah.
which is also a form of maybe status
yeah.
or skill, right? And when the guy just goes ahead and buys everyone drinks, he's trying to show how successful he is. So that's the male mating signal.
Yeah, showing that you have access to resources. As far as females displaying their beauty, it goes back to what your brand is on Instagram.
Yeah.
You see it done many different ways, right? You see it done very kind of not so tastefully and not so subtle. And then you have all the way to, let's say, much more modest and much more reserved. But if done correctly, I feel like it actually achieves more because humans desire that which is hard to get. So if the brand says, come get it, anyone can get it, it's not, while it might satisfy the immediate urge, it doesn't satisfy the kind of the long-term, like what else this person is talking about them displaying themselves as besides their body, right? Or like the way they look or their brand. So I feel like it's, once again, it's so simple, but there's subtle things that make it much more complex if you understand how to read between the lines.
Yeah, a lot of things are just not said, into face that you kind of have to understand.
Yeah.
Body language and, all the other signals that happen.
And you are in control, right? So once again, because social media allows you to be the creative director of your brand, you get to decide what it is, right? So then it's hard to then turn around and be like, well, don't judge me a certain way. It's like, well, this is the only thing we have to judge you on.
Yeah, that's the only signal we've been getting from you, from your page.
Yeah. And maybe judge is like not necessarily the right word because judging is saying like, it's more like alignment, right? Like we align or we don't align. That's probably a better way to put it.
Yeah, speaking of that, let's get something practical out of this. So if, imagine like I'm a well, okay, let's use somebody real, somebody who's just starting in the modeling industry, and like say if Kailtin wants to build her brand, what kind of photos do you want to see on her page, and what kind of photos do you don't want to see on her page?
Well, that's not a question for me. That's a question for what does she want to put out into the world,
Okay.
right? And then as she decides that and works towards that, I just look at me personally or our agency. We look at whether or not those align or not. So it should never be a top-down decision, because that's what we've moved past. Before it was, hey, you're great, but I'm gonna tell you what to wear, how to look, who to work with,
Yes.
all the things, right? You are just a vessel for like what I wish you to become.
Yeah.
While now it's flipped, is tell me who you are, show me who you are, what do you want to be, right? And if those align, then let's work together. If those align, Godspeed,
Yeah. And sometimes people don't know what they want until you show it to them. I mean, I could think of something that a guy doesn't realize he wants, and then I present something interesting and they're like, hey, that's interesting. Which in a way, that's another signal of like primal stuff. Because it's like, well, this person is doing something unique, and that is kind of like showing a resource because it's the creativity resource,
But question for you, like, which one will be easier for you on your spot, your position to run the things easily, like to set this model as typical types you want she to be, or another ways that let her to be she wants to be.
I just don't have the mental bandwidth to mold someone into something. Why do all that? Why do all that work? Why not just set them free? Enable them to succeed. Be the wind beneath their wings, right? Like,
but maybe based on your expert experience, you can provide them a better suggestions, better career for them.
I think I kind of understand what you mean. Money in this industry is big brands. Big brands want palatable, right? They want something to where they're not going to regret putting you on the cover of whatever, or having you represent their brand in a certain way. So think how they think if you want to be aligned with them, right? That's kind of, you can almost reverse engineer it. See what they book, right? Because if they book it, that means they're paying money. Okay, well, what do those models' profiles look like? Reverse engineer it. Look, find the target and then figure out how someone else got there.
So what if, let's say, one of the 50 of the models you have, and then, vendors from your side that they like to book one of the model to do the lingerie, but she is not part, she never on the other side of the category. So would you, at your position, would you try to convince your model to?
No. Why?
Or maybe talk to her because
she's not going to be comfortable. She, like, when she shows up to that shoot, like, there's something about being open-minded. Right? It being present in the sense of like, would you like to try this? And sometimes there's timidness because you're not sure how you're going to do, but then you go and you love it and you find a new part of yourself. And this is a very creative, expressive endeavor. And then maybe even like gain a better understanding about yourself as a person, because it is kind of vulnerable. But some people find strength in vulnerability, as long as obviously it's, in the right environment. So, but once again, convincing someone to be like, no, but there is something to be said of, I have a hunch and I kind of now got to know you. So just try it. You can always say no. You can always walk out, whatever. But but that's where, once again, maybe it goes back to my original point. That's the hardest thing is figuring out the model and their personality and then matching the gig that fits that personality. And sometimes being willing to take the chance and asking them to trust you. But it's not a go do this. It's like, hey, I think just a little bit, you might find this interesting.
So a very simple example, like the opportunity coming to your door and they pick 8 models, but she doesn't do lingerie. And would you do recommendation back to the client, say, how about B model? Or you would just give an A model an opportunity to understand, hey, there's an opportunity for you.
Right. So happens all the time. Okay. A business comes to us with a creative shoot of some sorts, and they're looking for kind of a loose parameter of models. So then based on what the type of shoot is going to be and kind of the elements involved, I already kind of have an idea of who to send. And that idea usually is already aligned. Like not very few times does a model need like encouragement or stuff. It's already because when we sign, we kind of have that conversation. What do you want to get out of this? What is your brand? Where are you going? What things you do, what things you don't do, right? So that's already been established. So it's kind of much easier to just kind of know who is perfect for that job. It's mostly actually convincing the client to take the chance, not the model. Because sometimes the client has a very loose idea, and then you kind of intuitively understand what they're looking for. And then you present a few models and they go like, oh, I don't think that necessarily would work. And then you go, give it a chance, right? And then they're like, oh my God, they were great, loved it, that was the best, right? So sometimes it's just about being that bridge between people, because you understand the client's needs and you understand the model. Sometimes they're just not communicating or not, and you're kind of the translator, right?
Wonderful. Okay, can you give? Depending if you can share this, but what is a typical gig that a model gets? Is it more like photo shoots to promote specific brand?
Sure.
Or is it maybe?
Well, modeling industry is got quite a bit.
Yeah.
That's another thing. So, let's say a model that wants to get signed with us. First question I ask is, what type of model do you want to be?
Okay.
Because
Makes sense.
modeling is such a blanket term, especially now with Instagram. Just added a whole nother thing. There is editorial shoots, there's fashion shows, there's commercial, there is hand modeling. There's all kinds of like niches.
But we are forgetting there's one more genre, which is music videos.
Sure, absolutely. Music videos, absolutely. Let's say creative shoots.
Yes.
That's kind of what we call them, right? There's a whole bunch of different stuff. So it's just more, what are you trying to build your brand as? Because it is better to niche yourself out and be the best in that industry or in that area, because you're kind of the go-to. You've done that work. The easiest way to book a gig is to show a client that a model has done exactly that same thing in the past. Because brands don't like to take chances. There's a lot of money on the line. The whole lot of phone calls and emails have to be just for the model to even be somewhere, right? Because there's a lot of infrastructure that went into the shoot. So by the time the model is there, there's a lot of riding on it in a way. Yeah.
Beautiful. And can you share, if it's public information, who are some of the most known brands you've found the clients for, models for?
Well, I mean, we work with local businesses. We've worked with a few other brands, but I just don't want to name drop. I just don't feel like that's.
Do you feel like you have decent amount of long-term vendors in order to fill in your models?
Well, so I think maybe this is a good segue into how the industry is changing and where it's headed. And it's going to be very interesting because of AI. And here's why. To explain how the industry is going to be displaced, I'd like to explain how it happens now. So an example is there's a company. They sell women's shoes. They have a spring product line coming out. So they want to do a print ad in magazines and let's say on Instagram for spring for a particular type of shoe. So they allocate 50 grand for the marketing campaign and they hire a marketing company. They give that marketing company 50 grand. Then the marketing company goes back and forth with the client designing what the ad is going to look like. Okay, that's done, set. Now the marketing company hires a production company. That's the cameras, the lights, the studio, the photographers. Production company subcontracts a modeling agency to hire the models for that. So you have a business, you have marketing, you have production, and then you have modeling agency. As modeling agency, we're the last in line, which means we get the little part of that pie. The further you are away from the source of the money, the less money you get. Just business. So that chain of events is how it used to happen. Now, with the advent of AI and being able to generate high resolution images that are indistinguishable from the production, right? Here's what's going to start happening. I have a shoe company. I hire a graduate that has a degree in marketing and a little bit in Photoshop. I hire him. I bring him onto staff. I spend about 2 weeks teaching him about the brand of my business, the culture, the vision, what our shoes are all about. And then that guy for 8 hours a day cranks out nonstop images of any model I choose, wearing the shoe in any lighting, any situation, whatever. So with one salary position, I've just completely done away with 3 businesses. Done. So I'm not sure what the future looks like, but it ain't that. Like that, the cost of that is now zero. So personally, as soon as I saw those images, I realized that the value is in real life, because beauty is still worth something, and it's worth something in person. We are humans. We still relate to people one-on-one in person.
Right.
So what we're focusing on is fashion shows, because a lot of what fashion shows are is a networking event, an industry, hey, look at us, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, to that extent, we've met at fashion community.
exactly. And here we are, right? So prime example. Second thing is atmosphere modeling.
Yeah.
So a club knows that if they have good-looking women in the club, men will show up and they'll spend money. Tale as old as time, but it's a good gig because it can be steady.
This is a typical like promoter kind of job.
Promoter.
So starting from I think 90s, right?
Yeah.
The promoter's job was to lure all the girls who are maybe like in the financial.
lure is a
Lori.
Okay, make sure that they
trend.
show up. Okay, so
right. Well,
Kinda,
so for us, it's more contracts. There's a lot of kind of trust and safety involved in the sense of we'll talk about this. So atmosphere modeling, fashion events, and also just events in general as far as like promotional, right? So being at a concert or being at a trade show, right? We've actually been getting a lot more of those gigs, trade shows, because once again, a couple of models showcasing how your product works in person sells the product better. I mean, it's still marketing, right? But it's more focusing on a physical person being in location and space. That is still worth money. So that is what we've been like. As soon as I saw that, that's what we've been focusing on, and we've been growing that aspect, and it's been actually working pretty well.
Yeah, and that's very very understandable. I think the danger, not danger, but the reality of generative AI is that digital content is kind of getting it's getting less valuable with the ability to generate pretty much anything with as I mentioned, you can just hire a guy who is really good at this, and there are other industries which are getting attacked by the very same generative AI, like on the right. It's a massive problem there because it's very difficult to compete with something that doesn't exist.
And also doesn't sleep.
Sleep. Yeah.
And just
It's just it's videos, which is a bit more difficult than photos, but we are getting quite good there as well. If you guys seen what OpenAI came up with in terms of video generation, it's extremely believable.
And that's today, and it only gets
That's
better.
today.
And it
Yes.
only
Give
becomes
it 5 more
cheaper.
years, and I think
Five is 3 years.
So do you think soon, guys, like professional like photographer will not exist anymore?
Because AI,
So
right?
the industry is going to shrink, but not disappear,
Focus.
because photography is still an art, and no matter how easy it is to generate a picture, like Picasso painting consists of some paint, a canvas, some brushes. The elements are free to use, but the produced image is one of a kind, and there's an imprint of the artist's soul in it. Okay. So those that still have that vision and that creativity will persist, and that their work will still be valuable. But the industry as a whole will shrink, and all the amateurs and
Be gone.
hey, I'm a photographer today. Sure, but who cares?
You have to be really good now.
Yeah, but it's once again, will still value the human soul that gets put into art, and modeling is an art as well. Especially if done in a certain curated style, right? There's a reason why people follow people, and if let's say you have a model that is your role model or an inspiration, or you want to kind of mimic what she does. You don't care that someone can produce an image of her ad infinitum. It doesn't matter. You care about what she's doing, and you share her vision, right? So people follow people.
I think physical presence is definitely something which is more difficult to fake.
Yes.
Right. So as we go away from charging for digital content, there's still value in doing physical events.
And I think it's more valuable.
Yes.
Because now, as an agency, when you contact us, our people are real. Because you're going to have a whole lot of things where it's a dead end. There's just some guy somewhere like halfway across the world, and the person that you were following, or you like the image of, and you would like to interact with in person, Doesn't exist.
No, a lot.
So we as an industry, or maybe our like Park Talent, we will be the arbiter of truth. Our people are real, and they're great. You should meet them.
That's the slogan. Our people are real.
Yeah. Well,
Love it.
Noel
Yeah.
actually came up with a good one. Human is beautiful, and
Oh.
that's
Yeah,
our
human.
slogan.
I like it.
Real human. That's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
change
Yeah. It's implied. It's in there. It's implied.
Okay, let's get back to, you mentioned atmosphere modeling, which is sometimes still vaguely understood in Bay Area.
Yeah, sure.
It's
Yeah,
a
I'd
common
love to
thing in
explain it.
Vegas, for example,
Mhm.
and common thing is maybe in LA and Miami,
Mhm.
right? But like here in Bay Area, atmosphere modeling is like why do I need to pay to get like women to come? I can just invite them to come, and they just going to come.
There's trust. Basically, they
Yes.
trust you that the event is real. They trust you that the event's going to be fun for them. That they're not going to have a lot of issues, right? It's as much on
But you
the
also
models.
pay them. It's a job. It's not just
Yes, it's a job. Exactly,
invite-
exactly.
Yeah, but
invite
it's a risky job, the atmosphere modeling.
Well, so maybe it's
I worked in the nightclub, sorry guys,
Yeah, yeah.
sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
jumped in
Go on.
as a VIP host. And yes, like when you're doing atmosphere modeling and it's a nightclub, like no matter Miami, Vegas, or even California, right? Girls can get drunk, someone can put something in her drink. So atmosphere
happens
modeling.
every time, unfortunately.
Yeah, so it's kind of risky
I agree. It's not without risks.
industry.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so-
Well, that's why it's a job, and there are a set of rules. Don't take drinks from pretty much anybody. Don't get drunk first.
Yeah.
The job, and
Well, it starts with the client. Starts with the venue, right?
but if the girls I mean, it's interesting actual conversations.
Absolutely. I think you are 100% correct. Anytime there's alcohol involved, and anytime it's kind of like a party atmosphere, lines might get blurred by just people at the, because also the venue can't control everybody that attends, right? So from our point of view, it starts with selecting the venue to partner up with, right? Because a lot of venues invest heavily in like their patrons knowing that they're safe and that it's fun and that there's someone looking out for them, to where the bad apples get weeded out. So picking the right venue to partner up with to bring the atmosphere models to, right, is one thing. Second of all, they're willing to pay money because it is work and because they get something out of it as well, right? So it's much easier for a club to market an event when they know that for sure there'll be 10 models there in a booth hanging out. It elevates the status of the event. The models get paid in real life, which is, once again, those, as the industry transforms, paid gigs, it's going to be turmoil.
which again is very different from like typical promoter club kind of activity, because when promoters bring women to tables, promoters don't pay women.
Yeah.
The whole like value exchange happens at the table. Like, hey, this rich guy is going to buy all the alcohol. This is how the clubs make money.
Yes.
Not from like doors
Yeah.
or anything, but from rich people willing to buy astronomically overpriced alcohol bottles. And then they sit by the tables, and they would enjoy to share this.
So we also
background.
we get our own booth, so we don't provide models for someone else's booth. It's kind of a booth of entertainment in the sense of we are an enclosed thing. Models are not there to like be part of someone else's booth. So that's one. There's like a bubble of isolation, right? You also have a place to hang out. We have extra security that kind of does that. Not only that, but it is work, because you're not just there to party. You're there to promote, especially using social media.
Yes.
Right. So what we do is when the models are all there, we do a promo shot saying like, "Hey, come party," and then showing the models that are there. So clubs love that type of promotion because once again, it gets people excited. And it's not just men. Women feel safer in places where they see other beautiful women because they feel like, well, my quality will be safe there. And obviously there's infrastructure to protect. So they're making sure that there's no weirdos or, so women also feel safer going to those places. So it actually benefits both people. The idea with atmosphere modeling is to show that this is a place to hang out and enjoy your time, right? And there's infrastructure there, so there's nothing wrong with that.
There is some time in life, and pretty much any attractive girl where she can get paid for just being there and helping promote, and there's nothing wrong with this.
No, yeah, it's marketing. And once again, like when you're there, you are working. So we're doing promo shots. A lot of times we'll hire photographers. So we'll do nightlife shots that the club can use afterwards. So there is modeling going on. It's not just you're sitting there and you're smiling and that's it. So it is work. And, especially if you're an outgoing person and you like that kind of environment, some models thrive and they love it because it kind of lets them to hang out and party, but also get paid. And it's also, they get content out of it. They get notoriety. Like there's a lot of value that gets created out of that.
The signature, I would say, shot for atmosphere modeling is like there's one guy in the middle. Say there's a backdrop, right? One guy in the middle, and then there are like a couple girls on each side.
Yeah.
Like kind of half hugging, maybe like smiling.
It doesn't have to be, but like the idea is to show that there's someone there looking out, right? Yes. And then there's also beautiful women that are hanging out there as well. A funny question I get asked is like, why don't you hire guys? It's like, I don't make the rules. Like the day the clubs want to pay for guys to hang out at a club, hey, let's go. I don't make the rules.
Find yourself.
Display of where there's one guy surrounded by a bunch of beautiful women is something that high status males usually do with their lives. You see, and like now you can kind of stage that, but before it meant that if there are women around you who are happy to be around you, means you are valuable to them, means you have something that they want. So that's again, this works back to you feel better about being in this photo as a guy because maybe your testosterone goes up and you feel like it's something that elevates you, and people are willing to pay for, maybe even temporarily feel like they are higher status.
Is that a question or
no? It's a statement.
Yeah. I agree totally. It would be silly for me to say that I don't enjoy that aspect of the business, but once again we're working, right? So like a lot of at that time what I'm trying to do is understand the club's needs and how they want to promote and then create those opportunities, those shots. Also, I'm in charge in the sense of I am responsible for the models. Yes. So I gotta kind of pay attention to make sure that things are being done, but also everyone's having a good time. So it's mostly work, but it's fun. Yeah.
Probably meet some interesting guys too, huh?
Yeah. Meet some interesting guys, meet some interesting girls. You definitely have people kind of like you start attracting a whole lot of attention, whether good or bad. So there's that as well. And I'm generally like a very kind of private person. So that's something I have to, like when we're partying, it's fun. But once again, it used to be that I'm just with my friends. So it's very much like I'm not working. This is that blend of the two. So it's an interesting learning experience.
I've had DMs from companies trying to get me to do atmospheric modeling for free just to get into a party that they say is exclusive. Do you have any thoughts?
Depends on who, where, how. I don't want to speak for anybody else. I know how we do it, and that's the only thing I can vouch for. Everything else is a catch-all.
It depends, and you can maybe ask me, but I'm going to give you two examples. One example is when it's clearly a party of like somebody famous, right? You would be willing to pay to go there, but someone invites you to just get access to somebody who you maybe is in your phone every time or on the TV in your favorite movie, right? Another one is when you don't even know who is this party for, but they might just show you that it's a fun place to be.
Yeah, because
it's always a risk, I think.
Yes. So in this case, risky, and therefore, when you invite people to events, it makes sense to show that hey, there were in the past other people who enjoy that. You see, so if you want references, you can go and ask. It makes sense to go and ask. So okay, as I mentioned, Instagram is extremely powerful for that. So whoever invites you, you can see who you have people in common. You can go and ask those people in common, hey, have you gotten invites before from this person? How are the events? You see, so you can do your homework to learn if it's
that's really good
reference.
But events can be good, but the thing is like when you go there and just for fun, right? It could be a bunch of other people, so and you don't secure as you would be secure with a model agency, for example.
Yeah,
I think it depends on the purpose because there are a lot of private parties host in the area, and you could get invitation all the time, nearly every single week, to tell you. Like last year, I actually went to a very interesting private events in Bay Area. And then the reason I want to attend it just because the YouTuber I have been following for like 3-4 years, he's going to be in the party. And that's the only reason I want to be there.
You would
to
go
meet.
for this, yes.
You will go. So they will try to invite the special, the host will invite someone like famous to contribute that. So they can, attract a lot of girls. And then it showed up, so that's why I showed up. Like I got invitation all the time. I never want to go to all those private party. It's just and until I see the YouTuber actually gonna be in that party, then I dress up very nicely and show up myself in the party, And then 4 years following, just I was done at that night. That's it.
You don't meet your heroes?
No, because you have to understand there are so many famous people there living on the internet, right? So they're not real until you actually meet them.
Right.
So you might have some fantasy, wild like thoughts about this person until you actually meet them, and you realize, oh, he's so boring.
Yeah.
And
You were
that's
like,
it.
ew.
Yeah, like pretty much like done. I'm done that
Yeah,
day.
they say don't meet your heroes.
Yeah, so
keep them as heroes.
Yes, yeah. So that's why like when people like have. So after that, I kind of like, oh, you know what? Okay, I would just keep on myself on the list. Is any time if I see any special guest will appear, then you will go. But because we are in Silicon Valley, so you get a lot of invitation for those weird party.
Yeah,
like weird.
Just like anything, you gotta see what the source is, and like I think that's really really good advice.
Yeah,
especially because if the event has models in it, photos, they tag those models.
Yes.
Just message those models. The reputation goes both ways, because I know for a fact same thing happened to our models, and nothing but positive things were said, and therefore a lot more like DMs get responded to. So it goes both ways, right? Reputation can either help you or hurt you.
Just be careful what you're going to.
Yeah.
Well, I think one more thing you are bringing up is I think Bay Area has its own specifics here. Like we have a lot of guys who made money in technology. And the nature of technology is that you don't have any social collaboration. You are just this weirdo who sits in the corner,
those are
for 20 years building your product, and then the product goes IPO and suddenly you're a millionaire, right? And then this weirdo is like, well, I have all the money now. Like, where are women, right?
That's why I went. Like those nerd, engineer, because they successfully sold a company and they got nothing to do, so they find something to be cool. Like every week they just do something in their own house, and then it sounds like very private party.
Right.
Yeah.
The private party is definitely much more different than a club. Club is a venue with permits, and they're running a business, and they don't want the same things you don't want to happen, they don't want to happen. So once again, the incentives are aligned, right? So it's a little bit more protected, because a private party is, who knows.
Yeah, and also I think it's like a status things for people here.
Sure.
Because like some people, like one day I met a model and she was like, "Hey, I saw you follow on this IG title. How did you get on the list for the private party?" I was like, you just get to know people, and that's it. You just need know one person to bring you into that circle, then you can try to be.
I'm sure you guys can attest. It seems big from the outside, but you quickly get to know most of the people. At least those that are worth it, right? Like.
I've been doing this for, I've done my first fashion show in Boston 10 years ago. And my list was something like 300 folks only, you see? And I was able to do events consistently with just this number of people. It's not that small, of course. So now it's bigger because, well, I like to see new faces come into my podcast as well. But it's still not that big. It's not millions of people there.
Yeah.
Well,
it also depends on the market, right? We know that New York and LA are top tier markets.
Yes.
And then maybe Miami is there as well. San Francisco is definitely what they would call a second-rate market. And then Sacramento would probably be a third-rate market, just for the amount of dollars that are existing. Because once again, we talked about it takes the clients to pay them advertising and the marketing agencies, right? So if there's less clients, smaller marketing agencies, even smaller production companies, and no modeling agencies, right? So it's kind of like you need the industry, you need the big thriving city, and you also need the emphasis on this ad spend. So if there's a big commercial industry, as in shooting commercials or advertising and that kind of stuff, right? The ad spend, that's where the majority of the money that flows into the modeling industry comes from. So New York has a huge one. LA has a huge one.
Yes.
Miami's got a lot of industry as well. But so it just depends where you are.
London, Paris.
Yeah,
We-
yeah,
we
yeah.
don't limit to
Obviously
this
international.
country.
Just kind of
Yeah.
talking about US, but same rules apply.
So since your company running for a couple years, what's the majority of the industry revenue you're from, like generate from right now? So far, still fashion, or since you were in Silicon
Right. So
Valley?
a lot of it's still commercial shoots, but because I've been looking for clients in the real world space, like I mentioned, it's starting to shift, right? So because I'm trying to get ahead of the ball. I know that the commercial shoots are gonna dry up. It's gonna be more competitive. It's gonna be smaller. It's gonna be less money. While the other one I can grow and expand. So in business, you always want to have kind of the wind at your back and filling your sails because that just gives you a lot more opportunities for big breaks. So that's kind of my answer.
So what will be the priority goal industry for you to push in 2024 this year?
Can you?
Like, there are so many industries you can get the business for
Yeah,
models, right?
I think the
Like
high end
fashion?
fashion. So fashion shows.
Still fashion, not like tech, like technology, commercial.
Well,
or-
so we actually staffed for Vallejo had like a tech fashion thing, so we staffed some models for that. So, but yeah, I personally like high fashion because it's very fun, it's very glamorous, and the events are like posh and they seem to be fun to be a part of, right? And it's a good networking event, and there is a lot of notoriety that models get once they walk for certain designers. So as far as chasing that like kind of status and those partnerships, I think high-end fashion is very desirable because there's also a lot of money, because the industry in that area has such high margins. Like Louis Vuitton bag costs $10 to make and they sell it for $3,000.
Yep.
It's nothing but profit. So that means there's bigger money to spend on marketing because there's other high-end brands that are trying to do the same. And anytime you have competition for marketing, there's more money to be had for all the businesses downstream.
And how do you support those beginner or starter, like high fashion designer locally with like small business? Like, if
Well,
you-
hold fashion shows for them. Try to contribute either as as a sponsor. Try to provide models. Try to help with infrastructure. So, kind of, if it doesn't exist, then build it. But also, if you do a few, you once again word of mouth spreads, and then you get to make that kind of bigger ones, and one thing leads to another. So that's an area that I would like to push towards.
Great question, Stacy. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and I want to expand on this. So with fashion shows, that's my experience, and I kind of wanted to validate this experience against what you observe. But fashion shows, because of their brand as a fashion show, they know that, say, if a model gets on the runway, she's going to get all those eyes, all those photographers, and all the content, and she will get famous. So sometimes the organizers of those fashion shows see that as value and don't think that it's necessary to pay. Like, we have a lot of examples, right, who think that way. And therefore they run their own castings and they don't really expect, to compensate models. Well, there may be food, but it's like, come on, like. So, and you folks don't deal with people who are not paying, obviously. Like, what's the point for you guys, right? So to provide all this, there's lots of work and getting things together. So I'm glad that you are able to find, though, people who are throwing high fashion events and still are paying. But overall, like, what's your observation? What's your experience working with organizers of fashion shows in Bay Area compared to, say, Miami or New York?
Well, I don't know if anyone else does this, but if I want our agency to be a part of something that I think will create value for our models' notoriety or advance their career, or maybe show them that they can be in the runway walks, right? We'll come in as a sponsor and we'll pay the models.
all the time, or
Not all the time. Depending on the thing. But like, I don't mind, once again, build it if it doesn't exist. Like, we're the point of last resort, as in we are saying either with someone else's dollars or with our dollars that your effort as a model is worth something. So
Of course, but for you as the business owner, though, what do you expect from? So imagine, like, I want to throw a fashion show.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sense for both of us, for
Yeah.
you and as well for
Yeah.
models, right? What do you want me to give you besides money, or instead of money, as the value for you to do the work to bring all the models?
Well, I mean, money is the easiest, just because it makes the world go round. I think a lot of stuff for fashion shows is they originate from a designer. A designer is a very creative person, and we've all met creative people. They're not very good at organizing or structuring, or so maybe sometimes what they need help with is the infrastructure of like creating the event or figuring out how to market the event or some of the logistics things. So we'll partner up. They can focus on their area. They give us the exclusive rights, as in, just our models walk, and in turn we'll help them with all the other stuff that they need. So it's kind of like a help me help you type of thing.
Okay.
Right. So there's always, if something good is going to happen, right, then people need to come together and align to make it happen. And usually in those conversations, you find that you can make a deal of some sorts that helps everybody.
I love it. So basically, if I find you some really cool designers, you would be open to.
So we're trying to find designers right now for a fashion show that we're going to do in a few months.
In Sacramento or where?
Yeah, Sacramento.
Okay. All right, guys. Sounds like we are going to Sacramento next time.
So we can talk. But yeah, we're always on the lookout. Yeah. I have a question. I like asking this one because it always, it's always a fun answer. Can you guys give me each a photo shoot or something that happened in the industry that really is like positive, like maybe a fun photo shoot or a person you met or an event you were part of, something that because of modeling or the fashion industry that you were involved with? So why don't we start with you? Because
I got so many. But
I saw in your eyes that you're already kind of going through the Rolodex.
Because especially I mentioned earlier before the podcast, I participated in a pageant last year. So I pretty much was very concentrated shooting every single day for 127 days, I think, from May through all the way September. So it was amazed that point, I didn't know anybody I realized once you're so active, oh my God, everybody, just like you said, you want to mute those DMs because I don't know for somehow those, how they works, but a lot of people will see you like very often and they will see, oh my God, she's shooting every day. I want to get her shoe. How can she shoot so many? So that's how I brought out the interest there, right? But one at a point that I met amazing people from Group Shoe, and then I've been cooperating with them since last April, even to this day, that, kind of brought me another, like open my mind that, oh my God, there are so many things I can do, not just posing, but learning from filming, from doing commercial here and there. Like you say, like, because social media is actually low down the bars and that give out actually, I'm on your side because that I saw the opportunity for my position that I want to at least want to give a try to do modeling to see how the real world is. And so I meet the local like people, you just like be so surprised, even though, yes, a lot of modeling jobs are not paid, but you just don't, I don't think modeling people to go modeling, not just for money. It's also for a lot of benefits. Yeah, so I think
there has to be something else besides money for you to persevere.
Right. So the best amazing experience for me so far is, even though I don't get much pay as cash, but right now from my head to toe right now, I pretty much have a couple sponsors to cover my expenses for nails, for haircut, for designer dress, and then
nice.
even underwear, lingerie, whatever.
That's awesome. Back in medieval times, they would have patrons. Right, so someone who would have.
I love that word. Patron.
Yeah, I love the word.
Patron.
Not a lot of people use that these days.
Yeah. Well, it still exists in one form or
Show
another.
your age,
we can
though.
bring it back. But yeah, it's kind of the same idea, right? Like someone who's invested in you doing the best you can do, and if they can help in one way or another.
Yeah. So like for me, like people ask me, how do you identify if this person doing good or not on modeling? Like, do you based on how much they get paid or not? I look at her, I say, good luck to be paid a lot to be make living. But if you can become a certain level that you have a long-term vendor sponsors for certain stuff in your life, I think you can at least pat yourself on the shoulder saying you did a really good job. At least you get someone recognize you as a model. So as long as you walked outside this door today and people look at you, damn, are you a model? I think you're a success already there.
I feel it.
Right?
Yeah.
That give you confidence, right?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No, to me, because of the modeling agency and the model happened all my life. Because of that, like
I think you should tell your story in a bit more detail because
be so cool.
imagine there are some people who don't know you. Okay,
yeah. If
so tell the
for
story
some
how
people
you.
who do not know me, so I was a Miss Russia 2011 beauty pageant finalist, and yeah, they discovered me, they rescued me. I don't like it was a hard job. I like it's, and then like
Can you start a bit before? You were a college student.
I was studying math and computer science in
Yes.
university. So somehow I see the email from the agency and
So you were thinking that you're going to go into like accounting or like software engineering, whatever, right?
cybersecurity actually.
Oh,
Wow.
that's fancy.
So cool.
So yeah, and I saw the email and the social media. The agents actually contacted me and like, hey, do you want to participate in the Miss Russia beauty contest? And I'm like, is it real or is they joking with me? And like, can you send the pictures in bikini? And I'm like, no, it could not be true. So, and then it was another. So I did not send any pictures or anything. So I was like, kind of, I don't know, not feeling safe
reserved,
about
yeah.
that. And then I went to another casting, which was Miss Kaliningrad, and I came there, and directors from Miss Russia, managers from there, came to the city, and they're like, "Hey, Ksenia, why don't you reply our emails?" And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know you guys exist." So and then I become on the stage and performing. After that, it was like I met a lot of people. Like I met a Donald Trump himself like twice. Yeah, because
I thought he liked you.
then I got invited to Miss Universe beauty pageant,
Okay.
like as a only like to see the contest, not like to participate in that. So and that's when the Moscow was hosting the contest. I believe it was 2013 when Miss Venezuela won. And Donald Trump visited, and so it was a party after party. So it was a lot of fun, and after that I was also noticed by a lot of model agencies, like in Italy and France. So I started traveling the world because of the modeling, and I think I ended up in America because of also like beauty pageant, because I came here as an ambassador from Miss Russia, and I came first time in US because of Miss Russia. So everything happened to me
What
in
a
my
journey.
life. Travels, like everything because of the pageant and because of the modeling.
Change your world, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of connection, a lot of beautiful people I met. So
You never know where your break is gonna come from, right? Like
No, I was like in Kaliningrad, in the very small city on the Baltic Sea, like living, doing my studying of math.
And they just
And then the life
emailed
happened
you?
to me.
They emailed you?
They emailed me and they contacted me in social media, but in social media it was like pretty much no pictures of the human who were contacting me.
Oh.
So it was like a picture of the girl, but it was only one picture, and I'm like, is it real profile or is it fake?
Yeah, yeah.
So I just didn't reply.
send bikini pics. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and like send me, I'm like, oh,
You're like, you wish.
okay, definitely no. So yeah, it was what
Great story, but also, I think what's important is if you are, and you probably know this even better than me, if you are scouting talent on social media, make sure that it's not just one picture of you asking for bikini pics.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you have to look relevant.
Well, same as anyone. The scouts also have to invest in their brand. Right?
Yes,
Like
yes, that's
it can't
the
just
point.
be some guy. It has to be once again maybe images of past work or some kind of like a record of even on social media, like how far do the pictures go and what are the pictures showcasing, right? If it's obviously like someone doing the job of a scout, like full time, or is it just like their hobby on weekends where they're like cosplaying as a scout? You know, that's you could tell the difference. You know,
How does it look like to be a scout, like full time, like a profession?
I do. Maybe I need to mention this. Like, I can't speak for the industry, and I want to make that very clear.
For your company?
I can only speak what we've been doing, and what we've been doing was just like what I felt was right. So a lot of maybe I speak with certainty, but that's just because I just know what I know. But I'm sure there's other people that run their agencies or have different experiences, and that's okay. I'm just speaking my truth. So what we do is we look for people that constantly put out effort on social media, and the algorithm ranks them and likes them, and then it recommends them. So a lot of the heavy lifting either gets done by the algorithm or word of mouth.
Is it also about the scouts?
Well, so we haven't needed the scouts. So that's why I'm saying, like, I'm not exactly sure. I've met scouts before. We've had brief conversations, but I've done most of the scouting for our agency because, once again, it's much more kind of boutique and intimate in a way. So word of mouth, models recommending other models.
Yes.
I feel like that's a very, very good thing because once they kind of figure out that you're trustworthy and you're legit, of course, they're going to want to send their friends that are also trying, right, to kind of into the same place. So word of mouth goes both ways. And photographers also, models recommending photographers that we're not aware of that do excellent work, right? So a lot of it just kind of building a base, and then a lot of opportunities either come to you by networking or happenstance or recommendation.
Have you ever tracked the amount of time you put into basically scrolling through profiles and making judgments? Or is it more
I'd
like
rather
passive
not
for
do
you?
that.
All the time.
It doesn't feel like work. So I find this industry very interesting as intellectually and also creatively. I'm a creative person. Like I studied music and did audio engineering, when I was younger. So I've always had that creativity. I feel like that's what attracts me because there is so much creative kind of mojo, if you will, floating around in the modeling industry because photo shoots are very much a creative process, or fashion shows are a creative process. So my strength is kind of the business underneath, but what I like about it is that there's a whole big cake on top of it, right? And like, what's the frosting? What's that kind of course.
How many
Thank you.
shows are you guys going to run this year? How many shows are you guys prepared to
Well,
run?
so we have, I am in the process of moving to Miami and opening up an office there. So second half of the year is kind of be involved in that, right? Just kind of doing the infrastructure there and kind of opening up an office and recruiting and meeting the right people and networking. So that's kind of the second half. So we're just going to have the one show that we're doing, but then we also have things in the work that obviously are, we're just staffing for businesses. So
Congratulations, you're expanding to East Coast.
yes, it's exciting.
Miami is a big hot.
The industry is big there, right? So it's huge there. So once again, there's just more marketing dollars floating around. There is more models moved there with the intent of this is what I really want to do. So it's kind of like a make it or break it type of thing. So they're much more willing to really put in the effort because they know that this is kind of their shot.
Yeah, because my friends are modeling, like model friends, and they're really famous. They all live in Miami. And they were like, you need to fly here for a weekend, fix your body, and move here. Then you will do a lot of work. You'll get a lot of work.
Yeah.
And that's like
There's a Miami look. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know,
Yeah.
It's
A very,
very typical. Very typical.
Well, I mean, they're different things for different clients. And I think Miami look can be overdone, but I don't know. We'll see when I get there.
We can't wait to hear from you once
It
you move
easily
there.
gets overdone, especially with time.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, if you're young and attractive, then you have so many opportunities. But then give it 15 years and it changes a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm also looking forward to is establishing an office there and then providing work for the models that are here. Right. So Miami has already like a base and the models that are there. But what we can offer to the industry is recruiting from this area.
Oh, fly
right.
them.
Exactly. If there's work, if it pays, right? So, so that's kind of like will be our edge, at least in the beginning, is already having models that are amazing, that do great work, that could use that any industry could always use fresh faces, right? So that's kind of the goal. So you asked me what I think getting connections with the fashion shows in Miami, but also making sure that I can find work for the models that are there as well.
What's the drive make you to move to Miami?
Industry, taxes, lifestyle.
And the beach.
Yeah, that's the lifestyle
Well,
part.
we got
That's
beach
the lifestyle
here,
part.
California.
Absolutely.
We have California.
Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of that, there's hurricane insurance, which costs tremendous amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the flooding.
flooding as well. Yes.
I want to be on the beach.
If
He
you're,
can't
if
wait
you're
to
on
be there.
Keys.
Look, he's like, he's so excited already. Like he's so into I don't want to be here any second.
No,
Yeah.
I love it here, but I do hear a call for something new, and I want to answer it.
You hear a call to Miami.
Yes, exactly. Yo, yeah, that clip that.
calling from Miami every day. That's funny.
You definitely will get bigger there, like 100%, because it's just a bigger market.
Yeah. Well, we talked about earlier about trying to find people that we don't have to convince that something is worth money.
Yes.
I think there's a lot more like-minded individuals in Miami that already kind of agree. So
Exactly. But with this in mind, if you were to start your company like all over again, what would you do differently?
I don't really have regrets. I'm so grateful for where we've gotten so far. A better way to answer would be how would I not do it again? So there's an unsung hero that's not here right now, which is my business partner, Noelle. I would not want to do this business without her. There is so much that we complement each other, and so many ways that what she does is like magic to me that helps this business, where I can focus on my end and she can focus on hers, and what we've been able to accomplish together is a great thing. I would not do this business without her. So I definitely want to give her a shout out.
You're so lucky. It's really, really rare to meet someone you can actually work with together.
Yeah. Well, we have trust, and on that foundation, you can build anything.
I think good business partners are fundamental for success, but it's also a reason to maybe, if you don't get good business partners, they can actually kind of stifle your growth, right? And I like that you have a partner who complements your weaknesses, and you can do what you are the strongest at and enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I'm very fortunate in many ways.
Amazing. Cool. Let's wrap up. This was Dennis Park, co-founder, a Park Talent Agency, a modeling agency in Sacramento. Couple questions for you to wrap up. So first one is, imagine somebody wants to sign up with you. Do they need to do something special, or they just
No,
you just discover
our
them?
website is the best way. So there is a tab on our website. You fill out the information, you add the not bikini photos, and then it all goes to the same place, and then we review it, and then based on what we're looking for, and especially the season, if we have need, then we contact you. Main thing I want to say is, don't get discouraged if you get nothing.
Yes.
Because you don't know what the agency is looking for at that time. You might be perfect, but the timing might not be right. The roster might be full. There might be other things that are happening, right? So it's only a no if you let it, right? So do what you can, send it out, and follow them, interact with them, right? So don't just be a number. Put a face to it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so you've submitted. Then you send us a message that says, hey, I've submitted. Okay, well, that's already 2 points that I can reference, right? You've already made the second thing where you've messaged us. Now I can look at your Instagram profile.
Yeah.
And then if I let's say I like it, I follow it. And then if I'm seeing work being done, well, that's already, it's like, so there's steps to it, right? And I feel like that's any agency. Just keep knocking, someone will answer eventually.
I think this is common in a lot of industries where performance depends on the ability to secure a gig. Like I usually like to bridge with my acting school, and in acting there are constant workshops and auditions, and there are a lot of people who get nothing after all the effort put in, and it's devastating, especially if you are going for acting thinking it's going to be your life, right? But in reality, it just means that whoever does the auditioning, the rehearsals, they are looking for a specific thing, and there is only one spot available for that specific thing.
And you don't know what that is.
And sometimes people also don't really know as much until they see, hey, this is the character, this is perfect. Okay, so they need to see you performing, and I think in modeling it's kind of similar. You need to show yourself to make sure that. I think was it you mentioning that sometimes, what was it you? Sometimes people don't know what they want until they see it.
Oh, yeah, that was me.
Yeah, it was you. Yeah. So you have to show it first. Okay. Like application itself isn't enough. There needs to be more, as you say, put a face to the numbers. Also, I kind of wanted to talk about numbers. Do you have any specific requirements for what numbers should be for models? Height, weight, measurements.
Yeah, I mean, every modeling website has those numbers, and ours are the same because that's what the clients want, right? At the end of the day, we are a pass-through entity. We staff the models based on the client's needs, and what we're looking for is largely the same as what everyone else is looking for, right? So it's hard, I feel, for models to be, let's say, off by some kind of those metrics, right? And so you look at the requirements and go, okay, well, I don't quite match those. So then you have two options. You can give up, go home, hang that on the shelf and do something else. Or you can just go, okay, that's fine. What that means is when I do build my brand, it will stand out.
Let's take it like height as an example, right?
Sure.
So usually modeling agency looks for like more taller, women there and men as well.
Yeah.
Right. But also there are a lot of creative women who are not as tall as the requirements are.
Yeah.
But they still want to try.
Yeah.
Right. So like, what do you do in this case? Like say if
So you have to once again reverse engineer. There are plenty of models that succeed that don't have the height. Okay. So what gigs do they book? Well, a lot of it is lifestyle and editorial because then height doesn't matter. It's just more about, are you personable? Are you relatable, right? Do you have the personality that shines even through a picture? So there's plenty of, hand models succeed, right? So it's like you could just have the best hands in the world and everything else is garbage, but the hands are amazing. I'm joking.
Or the feet.
Joking, right? So, so it's what about you that you wish to highlight, and everyone has something. Not only that, but no one has the authoritative answer to tell you can't do something. Because if your fire is burning bright enough, you will outshine and you will be undeniable. And eventually it'll be like, wow, we want to work with you. Because now you've turned what was a deficit into an asset. Plenty of people in history have done that. Something that Arnold Schwarzenegger, his accent became the asset that, because he was able to overcome.
He became the governor with that accent. Wild.
Yes, you can't pronounce the state that he's the governor of. Yes,
yeah,
I understand.
Let me set some context here. So Arnold is one of my role models.
Me too.
Yeah, and I studied him pretty extensively. So his first movie, Conan, if you remember.
Oh yeah.
His accent was so horrible that they dubbed him. So there was an actual somebody else speaking for him because what he was
acting
making up there didn't sound like English at all. You see, and because of that, he was going for like accent removal classes as well, and it kind of got to where he is right now. So it only becomes your asset when you have something else already going for you.
And also, because of social media, there is a line being blurred between model and influencer, right? Like, what's the difference in a way? Okay, you have a voice. Now you either display that voice through pictures or video, or you actually have a podcast and you speak. It can be one and the same, can be both, right? There's a lot of crossover in between those industries. So once again, those requirements are not set in stone. That doesn't mean you can't. It just means maybe not here, or maybe do something different, or try harder, or go another way, right? So the last thing I want to do is to discourage people.
I have a question for Chris. So, very simple question. What kind of model your company currently looking for?
So, because we're trying to go into atmosphere modeling and fashion events and also like live events and promotion, being tall helps.
Yeah.
Having a certain look, but also having a confidence. It's something that almost can't be taught. Is just kind of like a presence, right? So I feel like that sometimes is as valuable. People hire people they want to work with. And it's a lot of times certain characteristics can be overlooked if you are reliable and you know, like people want you to be there. That project will be better because you're there. Because let's say not only are you a model, but you're actually pretty good at creative directing. you actually can have input on the shots and the lighting and the mood and the style.
Very good one. I think we all know. I think Laya is good in directing behind the stage.
Yeah, she's very.
And that's why she's pretty much in a lot of different
Everywhere.
events. Yes, but she has her own niche. She has her own niche.
Yeah, she does. So one more question for you. So out of the year 50 model, what's the one?
The number fluctuates.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, the numbers, the models you have. What's the most in common? Every model has. Like
they're hardworking.
The height or
yes,
they're hardworking. They're reliable.
Not the height.
No.
Okay.
No, because what am I gonna do with height if you don't show up? What am I gonna do with it? Like, I can't shoot nothing, right? So it's like if you're reliable and you're hardworking, that adds inches.
Oh, good to know. That's a good one. I'm going to clip that. Wonderful. Yeah, I guess in summary, what you're saying is, if you want to get somewhere and you're not getting enough yeses in return, keep trying in a different way.
Or build it yourself.
Yes. Or build it yourself. That's what social media is for.
Yeah, exactly.
Like back in the day.
Nobody knows. We all wake up, put pants on, and we just try. Like nobody knows. There is no like authority, right? Like, so just if you have a truth inside you, speak it.
And you never know where life will.
Yeah, and you never know where life
will.
will. You got to be open. And what you were saying, right? Just being open to opportunities and learning new things and putting yourself into kind of maybe challenging or interesting situations, because who knows? Maybe that's your big break.
Yeah,
And,
you never know.
As long as the estrogen levels are high, show up and you're good to go.
Yeah, let's wrap up. If you have any more questions, that's the time to ask.
Well, I want to thank you
Thank
for
you,
inviting
Jim.
me. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed meeting all of you. You guys had really good questions. I enjoyed this conversation. Thank you.
Oh, I learned so much today from you about the modeling industry.
I appreciate that.
You know, like you say, it's a tier 2 city for fashions and modeling. So there are very limited agencies around for you to interview or trying to get. So do you encourage individual models to sign with the agency, or you will encourage like beginner models to be individuals at the beginning?
Okay, so depends on the agency, but yes, I think in general it does give you a big notoriety. It puts you into a networking group, right? And if you know how to leverage that, it can open up other doors. Some agencies are exclusive, some are not. That's a big one, right? Yes. So if you sign an exclusive contract, that means you're kind of locked in with them. So you hope that they're enough to provide you with enough opportunities. But I feel like because things are shifting a little bit, I feel like that's relaxing a little bit more. And I think, once again, the gatekeepers are dissolving because it's not working anymore. The old model of like, we have this club and you're either in it or you're not, which means that you're either getting work or you're not. Now that's dissolving. And so I think less contracts are becoming exclusive, which means that you can be signed to multiple agencies. Usually there's kind of a just, if you signed with an agency in LA, just sign with an agency in New York that's far enough away where that's not a problem kind of thing. There's still territories in a way.
So, like we do see there are quite different way to run model business in the industry. One of kind of the business model running in the industry is like, for example, in LA, TMT model agency, every year they have their like fashion shows, and they will recruit the model all across the countries to join them.
Yeah.
Be paid means like the model has to pay to walk the and like are you going like what do you think about type of business here? Like
I personally
did you see
do not believe
here?
In a business that requires you to pay to enter it. How am I adding value if the first thing I do is take away?
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense to me. And I feel like maybe that's the way things were, but from someone who came in with a fresh slate, that from business practice looks predatory.
Yeah, because it's still like actually quite like comments in the streets. Like when I first started modeling, I saw they're like supermodel. They used to run like on American Next Top Model, in final, and then they used that title to start create a tour, charge beginner models barely know how to walk.
Yeah. Well, I think because someone who's taken advantage. Their job is to convince that the value doesn't lie with you, the value lies with them. But they don't have an agency if they don't have models.
No,
So
they don't.
where does the value lie? I don't have a business if I don't have any models signed. Where's the value?
So I'm just very surprised actually model is willing to pay and to watch the shows, because I was one of them, at the beginning, I don't know anybody. So I thought paying to watch the show can create opportunities. And it did, right? Just like I go with pageants and
Yeah.
I create my opportunity.
I feel like it would have still, like, I feel that I just don't want to say too much, because once again, there are businesses that free to run their business and I don't want to, even though I said it's predatory, it feels like predatory, right? But that's just not how we do it, because that seemed like it's a very common tactic I see used in other businesses, where you put someone in a hole financially from the get-go. Day one, you owe us.
Yeah.
So now, instead of negotiating from a position of how can we help you, like, no, you're working off a debt, right? It's just a very different structure. Doesn't build good relationships, I feel.
Doesn't sound like a good business though.
Yeah, but so if one of your model tell you, hey, TMT had this opportunity in LA, like, should I try to sell 6 tickets in order to walk the runway?
So that exact thing happened multiple times. I gave my best advice. One took and one did not. It is what it is.
And what's the end for both of them today? Whoever walked in LA,
Dead end.
so you don't really see that opportunity is actually better than.
I'm not saying it can't happen. I think a person can make an opportunity out of a lot of stuff, right? So two of the same people, both, let's say, paid. One can get their value extracted out of it, and one person doesn't. But that's also on an individual level, right? That's not all placed on the way the business model is structured. It's also up to you to get your money back, or your money's worth, I guess, right? So once again, it depends.
Because right now, like, local fashion, small fashion show, local in Bay Area, they're like, they don't ask you to pay, but expecting you to sell tickets, right? So what do you, like, would you, like, if you threw a fashion show like in June, would you expecting your model to sell tickets?
I think the word expect is the issue. Why wouldn't you want to tell your friends about this awesome thing you're doing? It's a different proposition than you better sell 6 tickets or else.
Usually, good product doesn't need to be advertised as much, you see.
Not only that, but like, if we're part of a show, let's say we're putting it on, marketing is kind of our job, isn't it?
Right, but these days, like, a lot of models, they don't know what's right, what's wrong. So for me, I look that based on my life experience, I know it's taking advantage on people.
Yeah.
But they're willing to let people take advantage.
But also so many resources. Like, if, let's say, for each one of you, right? Let's say a model hit you up, and they're obviously trying to be a model. It's just not some, girl. Like, they're obviously putting in work, so they're obviously serious about it. If they just randomly DM'd you with a question about something you've done or an advice, would you take 5-10 seconds to answer?
I've had girls DM me like, is this photographer safe to work with, or is he a creep? But I immediately respond, I'm like, yeah, he was fine.
Yeah, see, use your network. Because it is like, anyone can message anyone these days. Use it. That's a big, powerful tool. And because reputation works both ways, good or bad.
Awesome. I love it.
Great.
Cool. Yeah, okay, let's save questions for another episode with Noel. Next time, and let's come to Sacramento. And
yes,
what's the best way to reach you? Not your company, but say if somebody wants to offer you like few things or.
So my personal Instagram is Dennis Park D. That's PARKD at the end. That's my personal. That's the best way to reach me.
Cool. All right. Anything else, or are we done?
Thank you so much for let us learning.
Thank you for the questions. I really enjoyed this conversation
because your business model is quite different, stand out than other business models. I being like here and work with, and it is very encouraging modeling that keep going. That there are still a good amount of the agency like you. Very legit and reasonable and treat.
I don't want to put the industry down as a whole. I think the industry works. I think a lot of people succeed in it. I think it does provide value, and it's fun and exciting, and it does work. There's just bad apples, but that's in any industry. And there's more than one way to run it. All I know is how we're doing it. So. So
And that's good. You actually stand up, like with your high quality of the criteria is that, to keep your model qualities higher than, like just random.
because we work with people, and I want them to trust me. Like, treat the others how you wish to be treated. It's like super simple.
So it's like almost a guarantee. If you hire them, they always give you this quality models. You don't have to afraid. Doesn't matter.
That's
who
the whole
you're singing.
point. I
Yes.
think it's a valid proposition. This was the 25th episode of Sublime Podcast, and I want to do another announcement. I am building another part of my company, which is going to help designers who are starting and who don't have access to Amazon because of the volume of production. I'm going to start helping them with marketing. So, like, if you have a Shopify account, for example, a Shopify store, and you don't want to do like photo shoots and promotion and posting on your social media, I can help you. I'm looking forward to work with more experienced people like Dennis, and let's see if we can do events together.
Absolutely.
Like, if you need any kind of help with like media coverage and whatever, I love doing that.
Absolutely.
So
There's definitely ways we can help each other.
yeah, definitely. We'll see you in Sacramento next time.
Yes.
Awesome.
Come party.
All right, guys. Cheers.
All right,
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.